All right, so this is for class here on the 13th of November. I'm going to be covering chapters 9 and 21, and then I'll probably touch base when we meet in class on Thursday a little bit. One of the first things I want you to know is that it covers both chapters. You do have to do one of the chapters for your Apply assignment. The other one's just the reading. The content that I would focus on are the terms and the content that we have in the PowerPoints. I think it's good to be exposed to the things in the chapter, but that's from a testing standpoint, the information that I really want to emphasize. So as I've said before, one of the best ways to be able to follow along with me is to probably print out the PowerPoint for chapter 9 and 21, which is located on Blackboard, or split screen me when you're watching the YouTube video with your PowerPoint so you can kind of follow along, because I will be using the PowerPoint. If you take a look here, this would be slide number 1, slide number 2, which is marketing decision support systems. And in the last chapter, we talked a lot about segmentation and getting customers divided into characteristics that we can then try to provide a product or service that will satisfy their wants and needs. Well, a marketing decision system helps us to do that better. And so for many people that are in IT, for example, and often people who take computer information systems also have to take marketing, is because there's so much crossover between the data that we collect and how we as marketers use that to make decisions. And so a marketing decision support system is really just a way for you to gather an aggregate of the data and information. You'll see this in analytics, many other terms that you'll see this reference to, and helping us to make good decisions. A lot of times it's a database or other things, or CRM systems that we'll talk about here in this class. So really that's kind of the gist of what those systems are, and every company has different ones. A lot of times you can buy a vendor can put together something for an industry that you can find, or sometimes it's in-house for some of the larger corporations. I know for our bank, a lot of times we have to go outside to get Salesforce.com or some other type of CRM system if we wanted to do that. So let's go to slide number 3 here. It gives the definition for database marketing. It's creation of a large computerized file of customers, potential customers, profiles, and purchase patterns. It's just basically a way of putting data together on your customers. And they even do this at Northwestern. They have a Prospective Student Center, I think it's called, PSC, if I remember right from when I taught here full time. And really what it does is it just collects information about each student who has sent information to Northwestern, what year they are, what their GPA is, what their class rank is, what school they have, and then it gives a kind of an idea of how likely you are to come here. And part of it is they look at, well, what high school did you go to in? And so if you're from Boyden Hall, well, we've had good history of getting kids from Boyden Hall, so there's a better chance we're going to get somebody from Boyden Hall than we are with someone with the exact same characteristics as you, but maybe from Springfield, Missouri. Well, we might get a few, but there's a much greater chance if all of the characteristics are the same, ACT, church affiliation, you name it, all the same, but the geographic location is different, probably has a greater chance for coming from Boyden Hall. So it's a way for Northwestern to take its prospective students and divide them up into basically, higher chance, lower chance students, and then they can also kind of send customized messages to those students. So another term for that, if you go to the next slide, is called CRM, which is Customer Relationship Management. And really it's exactly that. It's trying to maintain or manage a customer relationship through the use of information on a database. So I kind of put together 2 YouTube videos on slide number 5. So what I would do if I was you is I would copy and paste those or drop those into your web browser, pause me, and then take a look at both of those videos on CRM. All right, hopefully you've watched that. If you didn't, it was kind of an awkward pause there, but I just paused to make sure that you could stop and take a look at that. Other things to consider when you're collecting information to help you make good decisions. One is the term touch points. And really what touch points are is a way for a company to track the interactions that they have with customers at all levels. So touch points are all possible areas of a business where customers communicate with that business. And so if you think about Northwestern's touch points, I mean, Northwestern's touch points is maybe going to be in a flyer that you get sent as a senior. You may see their athletic teams. You may come visit campus. So that's another touch point. You may go to the website, another touch point. You talk to the admissions counselor, another touch point. And so a lot of times what these CRM systems or customer relationship management systems do is track your interactions with the company across a broad spectrum of touch points. Now, for some companies, their touch points are very limited. Maybe it's by phone or on the internet, and those are the only two places that you're going to have an interaction. But that's probably more unlikely than it is likely. You're usually going to run across them in their Facebook page. You're going to run into an employee. You're going to run into a TV ad. You're going to run into a multitude of different touch points, and trying to figure out where and when customers are having those interactions, and then also how well those interactions are going, so that they can try to track those things. Another place that we do that, and one of the touch points, is your point of sale interaction. So a lot of times you'll hear POS, which sometimes POS is not a very good term, but right now, and for a marketing standpoint, it's point of sale system. And so when you hear a small business owner or somebody in retail talk about their POS system, it's really their point of sale system. And by definition here, it's the communications between customers and organizations that occur at the same point of sale, normally in a store. Now, as retail has proliferated into online, a lot of times that point of sale could happen online. And so it's the interaction that occurs when you actually are exchanging the good, when you're actually making the payment. It is the point of sale. And so they're trying to track how that is going. Also look for opportunities to cross-sell, maybe suggest something else that may make the product that you're buying better. Sometimes that's annoying, but you know, at Walmart, if you go in and you buy any type of technology, they're going to ask, do you want insurance on this? That's a cross-sell. It's an upsell. They're trying to add on to what you're currently purchasing. I'm not going to get into whether or not I think that's a good idea, but that is a point of sale transaction that can be tracked, can be used to gather other information that you have. So if you're going to the next slide, you can go to slide 7 there. And really what this shows is just the continual flow of information that a company is gathering on their customers. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about some privacy concerns later, but if you think about our marketing concept from the beginning of the course, what we're trying to do, or what a business is trying to do, is create a product and service that the customers actually want, that actually satisfies their needs. Well, if we're not paying any attention to the customer, and we're not following how those interactions are going, we're not following if we're getting the job done, it's difficult to satisfy customer wants and needs. And so you know, I think that's a tension in marketing is, are we gathering information to try to help them or exploit them? And I think, you know, obviously there's been times when that's been crossed, and I think people have different preferences. It's kind of the same idea as for some of you who are on Facebook or other social media sites. If you get on there and the ads are directed towards you, you kind of like that. You'd rather see ads for things that you're actually interested in than things that you're not. But some people are like, well, how do they know what I'm interested in? When you say, well, this previous things you've looked up on Google and other things, and they don't like the fact that they're gathering information. So I think people have different preference levels, and a lot of times there's ways for people to opt out of those types of advertising. But it could be argued from the company's standpoint that they're really just presenting you with goods and services that they think that you may want or need. So on that, number 7, we identify customer relationships. We understand interactions with the current customer base. We capture data, how that's going. We store it and integrate it, and we use it for segmentation. We use it for other things. We may even identify our best customers. Who are the customers that it makes most sense for us to do business with based on what we offer? And then we can leverage that customer information to do it better, or to maybe find new customers, new markets, new opportunities. and then back to identifying customer relationships. So it's a continual thing. It's not something that you do one time and it's over. It's a continual process of gathering information, trying to use that information to better serve the customer. Next slide here is data mining, and then this kind of gets into a little bit more of what we talked about with privacy concerns. But really, it's a collection of data that can be accessed and manipulated by software. And data mining, sorry, that's database. Data mining is data analysis procedure that identifies significance patterns of variables and characteristics that pertain to particular customer or customer groups. So if you think just like mining, you're basically taking all this information and you're just chipping away at it. You're looking for that little piece of that little nugget of marketing gold where you realize something. You have an insight. You realize like, oh, why are they coming to our restaurant? Okay, you think it's this. You think it's, well, it's because they love our pizza. Well, maybe it's not your pizza. Maybe it's your chicken. Maybe Pizza Ranch, it's your chicken. Okay, I'm not saying that it's not your pizza, but for me, it's their chicken. So they may find out that what's bringing people in is not what they think it is, and so what they're looking at is they're trying to find information which are going to help them serve the customer better. Next slide, slide 9, is kind of really tied into why this is a part of this unit. It's really customer segmentation. So it's taking that information. So Northwestern did with their Prospective Student Center. They could take all male students, all female students, all students from the West Coast, all students from the East Coast, all students with 20 to 24 ACT, all students with 24 to 28 ACT. They could segment those customers and offer them things that they think would be attractive, or they may find that there are certain things that they need to emphasize. It may be that if you're a 32 ACT, you are really concerned about the academic part, and this is stereotyping. So if you don't like it, I'm just using this as an example, so don't get too worked up about it. But if you're a 22 ACT, and they may find that maybe you have more interest in social things or athletic things or musical things, or you're there more for a whole package versus just the academics. Well, what you emphasize to that particular customer is going to be dependent on what they're looking for, and so they can start to see trends and insights for people from certain areas. If you're from California, it may not make sense for you to make your visit in February. So they may find that that doesn't work, and wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't effective. So customer segmentation can be done more easily now that we have some of this information and data. And again, that's why this is tied into Chapter 8 with segmentation. So next slide here is privacy concerns. There is a lot of people that are concerned about the information that's being gathered, and I think rightfully so, because this information can be used, and there's been a lot of things with the election. There's a lot of things in different industries, whether it's healthcare, education. Actually, it's called FERPA. And so how do you deal with a company gathering information, trying to maybe satisfy customer wants and needs, but having the potential to exploit that and do something unethical? It's a challenge, and it will continue to be a challenge, and I think there'll continue to be legislation and continue to be cases where information is probably not used in a way that people feel comfortable with. So if we look here, the learning outcomes from this section, we're looking at marketing decision support systems and customer relationship management. If you look at that big list of things there on slide 11, these are all things that can be gathered to help us cross-selling, reinforcing purchase decision, improving customer service, introducing new trial products because you find out something. That can all be the result of collecting information, customer relationship management systems, and marketing decision support systems that help us best efficiently use our resources to satisfy customer wants and needs.